Terra's owner described his horse as close to dying after staying for months at the Bird's Nest retirement farm in Goochland County. Luca Powell, Richmond Times-Dispatch. A judge found Bird Rashid guilty on 5 counts of animal cruelty after several days of pitched court testimony. Rashid, a well-known name in Virginia's equestrian world, stood accused of animal cruelty to 13 horses that were in her care at her farm in Goochland County. She was acquitted on 8 counts. The decision came on Friday evening, after Goochland Circuit Court Judge Timothy Sanner had heard from 25 witnesses involved with Rashid's horse farm. Sanner was ultimately asked to choose between 2 sharply different interpretations of the facts presented at trial, most of which related to events during the winter of 2022. In the Commonwealth's interpretation, Rashid had let 13 horses become so thin that they were near death. Goochland Commonwealth's attorney John Lumpkins Jr. put veterinarians from 4 different clinics on the stand. The veterinarians presented a united argument that the horses were malnourished. In the interpretation presented by Rashid's defense lawyer, Craig Cooley, the horses were not malnourished but simply thin, just days away from the renewal brought by budding spring grasses. Cooley presented Rashid as an attuned horsewoman, a devoted caretaker in touch with nature's way of shepherding her horses through winter. She would never hurt a horse, Cooley said. After 2 hours of deliberation, Sanner emerged from his chambers to say he was more convinced by the veterinarians. This court has to place a greater weight on the testimony of experts, said Sanner, acknowledging that the pressures of economic inflation, and Rashid's own feeding philosophy, influenced his decision. Rashid was found guilty in relation to the treatment of the horses Patrick, Terra, Opal, Loki, and Ruby. All were former show horses who had been boarded at her farm, the Bird's Nest, to live out a bucolic retirement. Instead, they were starved, according to numerous witnesses and veterinarians who spoke throughout the 3-day trial. Patrick's stomach began to digest the lining of his own throat and heart. Terra's veterinarian said he was so skinny something as simple as a cold snap would likely require him to be euthanized. Loki, whose face had begun to swell from late-stage starvation, was too frail to be loaded into a trailer. Veterinarians use a scoring metric called body condition score, a sliding scale of their well-being that ranges from 1 to 9. A horse at a 9 would be severely overweight, while a horse with a score of 1 would be severely emaciated. Most of the horses mentioned in Rashid's trial scored between a 1 and a 3. Skeletal was how veterinarian Paul Lanikis described Terra.